I'm Lydia of Lydia Design Costumes, and this is my pattern showcase series. The pattern that I want to talk about today is Simplicity 1137. I have used this pattern for at least 3 different costumes, and I'm going to talk about each one of those in this video. I really love to use commercial patterns for my cosplays. I learned how to use them when I was a kid, and I know a lot of people don't like them or find them unfriendly, but I just find it easier to have a starting point and then make it closer to what I want. What I end up doing is cutting out the pieces for the garment and then kind of looking at the instructions and then being like, whatever. And I just use the shapes of the patterns to do my work. So like a lot of times I'll use like just the torso or the sleeve. I'll Frankenstein a lot of patterns together to get what I want. As you can see, this pattern is of Sansa from Game of Thrones. And the dress here is the one that I made, the season 1 Tourney dress. The pattern is constructed in a way that you can also do her season 4 veil dress. You just make the central part of the dress and don't attach the sleeves, and instead add this cute little jacket. I also love this costume because it's got this princess seam center part that is all in one piece with no waistline. It's also got these generic Renaissance long lady sleeves, not sure what they're actually called, but those are also in a lot of Renaissance themed dresses that you see. So as you can see, this pattern is pretty versatile, but I'm going to talk about a few costumes I've made from this pattern, starting with the actual Sansa tourney dress. I decided to make it as is. So like when I saw this pattern come out, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or so, I was like, you know what? That pattern actually looks really close to the one from the show. The real main difference is the details, like the fabric chosen, the lack of embroidery. But what it does have is the actual silhouette. What I did was I had fabric in my stash already. I had a pale lavender silk and a gold brocade, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna make this exactly the way the pattern says to do it. And it also has the rose detail that I was actually really kind of surprised that they include a little pattern how to do the roses. So I guess the only change that I did make was I did a grommet lace up back. The pattern calls for a zipper. It usually always does. It's like, well, I know that my size is probably going to change over time, so it makes it a little bit easier to wear in the future. Looking at some of my other costumes, I generally try to do pretty accurate to the original source and do all of the extra details. This one, I just, for whatever reason, I really wanted to just do it like the pattern. I just really like how this looks and how it came out. And I thought it was a really nice, simple version that didn't take a lot of time. And that if you know how to use a pattern, it was pretty straightforward to do. So the next costume I made with this pattern is Hylia from Skyward Sword. As you can see from the reference photo, it's actually the same dress that Sansa wears. If we look at the pattern, we can see the similarities here. She's got those long hanging sleeves. The base of her dress also has the princess seams, and it's one long piece with no waistline. Really, the main difference is that there's this interesting kind of cutout along the neckline, and I followed the pattern pretty much exactly the same for this one, so there wasn't like a lot to it that was different. The last costume I'm going to talk about is one that I made very recently. It's the Revenant from Elden Ring Nightreign. She's the little gremlin doll character that the internet is in love with. So what I ended up doing with this one is I didn't make it as is. I used the top part of the dress. When I did the cutting, I just cut out the top part of the fabric and shaped the bottom of the bodice the way it is in the source. and I lowered the neckline a little bit to be more accurate to the game, and then I used the sleeves. In the sleeves, I shortened a little bit on the forearm because hers are kind of folded and pleated up so that they rest in the crook of her elbow. For the skirt, I just did a tube skirt that I just cut really, really wide and then gathered the waistband. So I didn't use the pattern for the skirt part. But yeah, the top and the sleeves is this pattern. Interestingly, if you look for this pattern again, if you try to find it, they recolored it to, I guess, avoid copyright issues. So it doesn't look like this. This is the first edition that I got when it came out. If you can get your hands on it, I highly suggest trying it out. And even if you just want to make a generic Renaissance dress, it's great for that. All right, so that was Simplicity 1137. Bye.